Hello, good evening. Welcome to Hucknall in Nottingham. I'm John O'Bard, and here with the probably final, maybe another one, hockey chat of the season, considering, as far as I'm concerned, the season ended at the weekend. Quite a lot to talk about, as you can well imagine. I'll just remember to start Audacity. So at least we've got the podcast. Just a reminder that you can listen to this on a podcast about 15-20 minutes after the video is over. It's available on audio should you wish to listen that way. But lots of questions, as you can imagine, tonight. So it could go on for a while. Lots around Panthers, lots around the Steelers. There's some on Premier Sports. We've got some on Manchester's announcement from today. We've got hypothetical questions. There's a lot. There should be something for everyone tonight. There's an awful lot to go through. As ever, if you could tweet this out, I've just posted the link out on my Twitter at John O'Bullard. If you could give that a retweet, I'd be most grateful to get as many people in here as possible for the discussion. I can see there's quite a few in already. So good evening to you all. I won't mention you all individually, but evening to you all, and thank you for being here. It's great to have your company. If you want to join in the discussion, you've got the chat box in here, or you can go to my Twitter, which is at John O'Bullard. If I keep looking to my left, it's because I've got the Forest match on the TV with the sound off. So I might just quickly glance at it from time to time. Forest are winning 1-0 for those who don't know. Right, let's crack on. And we're going to start with a international hockey question. To start off with, and that comes from Chris P, who is at Chansu92 on Twitter. He says, with the double IHF withdrawing Russia from hosting the 2023 World Championships, if Great Britain stay up, should they be looking at applying to host? Great question. If they apply to host and they are chosen as hosts, then they won't get relegated. So there's a good reason for them to apply. The problem is, I think it is a pretty big cost because you've got to bring all the teams over. You've got to put them up for 2.5 weeks. You need venues, and you need venues that have got the space in with locker rooms and such like. So I think the NIC is probably one of the obvious choices because I think it has a locker room space. Then I think you might be struggling unless you can put temporary locker room space in other arenas. I'm thinking Sheffield. I think Sheffield only has 2 locker rooms, maybe 4, which isn't going to be enough unless you can put something in to fill the gap. You could actually have it in Dumfries, but Dumfries is not big enough, or you could have it in Sheffield because they will have the locker room space. So yeah, but unfortunately they don't have the capacity. I did sort of mention this sort of hypothetically in a chat with Chris Ellis a while ago, and I think he mentioned that they will probably have to looking at something in London because it's the capital. It's where all the media is. And that sort of makes sense. So do you look at Wembley? Do you look at the O2, for example? Do you look at an arena that doesn't necessarily host hockey? But yeah, I mean, if Ice Hockey UK can afford it, if the costs are right, then I don't see any reason why they shouldn't apply for it if the facilities are available. And how fantastic would it be to have a world championships in this country? Obviously, all hypothetical at the minute. I would think the favourites would probably be Switzerland, to be fair, because they had their World Championship cancelled because of the COVID pandemic. So I think if anywhere, it's probably going to be there. But if Great Britain were to apply, I fully support it. And I think there'd be plenty of people in this country who would definitely fully support it as well. So, yes, let's look at applying, but I think it will probably go to Switzerland, is my thoughts on that one. question in the chat that I did see when I logged on to start this. Tomo says, "Are there going to be 12 teams in the NIHL next season? If so, who will be the 12 team be?" So Bristol joining the National League to take it up to 10. It looks very much like there's going to be a team in Hull next season as well, which will take it up to 11. But there has been rumours of a 12th team. I did see something regarding Solway, but Martin Grubb, their head coach, poo-pooed that idea on Twitter earlier today, so it's not going to be Solway. After the Solway, I'm really not sure who it could be. I suppose Whitley's a possibility because they do have the capacity. I think Streatham is a possibility. And then the only other one I can really think of is Blackburn, because they've got the capacity. I think there's a 3,000 capacity rink at Blackburn. And Jamie says Blackburn in the comments. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I saw it was mentioned, and the new Hull owners, of which includes Matty Davis, were interviewed, and he sort of mentioned that there's going to be a 12th team, and that's why they're that is why they are going now, and they wanted to wait a year and start in 23, 24, but they've had to bring it forward a year because the 12th team is entering the National League. So National League looks like it'd be quite strong with 12 teams next season, if that's the case. But Anthony Russell, who is in the chat and has said Streatham is not a possibility, he will have his What's Current stream tomorrow, I'm sure. Tune into that at Banners OTW on Twitter, 8 p.m. tomorrow. And I'm sure Anthony will have all the lowdown on that for you and any other rumours, as Anthony is far more knowledgeable on NIHL stuff than what I am. So I will leave that one to Anthony. But yeah, 12 teams in the National League, always good news. Right, let's have a look at the next question. This one comes from Dave at BitInDave on Twitter. He says, "The deal for Premier Sports was to grow the game, but since then there has been no British hockey on Free Sports, no Elite League highlight show, no Elite League games, no GB under 18 games, etc. How does hiding the sport away from the public grow the game?" Okay, I have very different views on hockey broadcasting. Having worked in it, and I've worked for Free Sports, worked for Premier Sports, and done bits and pieces. And it always sort of rankles me a bit when I see Free Sports and Premier Sports getting criticism. They are the only people who have covered hockey in this country over the past few years. And I keep seeing things like, it should be on the BBC, it should be on Sky, it should be on BT. Well, where are they to come and take it? It's all right saying it should be on all these other broadcasters, but these other broadcasters aren't coming in to take it or aren't coming in to broadcast it. So on that point, what are you going to do? Premier Sports have come in. Not only have they done the Elite League, they've covered British ice hockey at all levels, including under 18, under 20s, women's, which they did earlier this season. No other broadcaster has done that for British ice hockey. There's been junior stuff on Premier Sports in the past. And, this... And this is something that really does rankle me, because I think Premier Sports get unfair criticism because they do come out and they do a good job of broadcasting the Elite Leagues. Nobody else does it. So there you go. I sort of agree about a highlight show, but I think that is something to do with the clubs themselves wanting to drive traffic through their own social media and their own YouTube streams. But, you say it's being hidden away, but they're sponsoring the league, so they're obviously putting money in. Yeah, what else? What else can we do? Yes, it probably is a bit hidden away, but I know that they have been showing reruns of Elite League games on Free Sports, so it's not as if it's been completely kept off Free Sports. So, I think Premier Sports do an excellent job. Would it be better if it was on free sports? Yes, of course it would, because it'd be available to more people. But Premier Sports are the ones who put the money in. Premier Sports are the ones who are covering it, and Premier Sports are the ones who are covering it at all levels. So that's what I've got to say. Anthony, he says the issue with Premier Sports coverage is people are spoiled for sports coverage. The quality of coverage for other sports comparatively makes it all look a bit naff. Murph does a great job, the whole crew do, but it lacks the oomph the other sports get. I would slightly disagree with that. I mean, obviously, if you're comparing it with the NIHL, then yes. But I think they do a decent job of the rugby league coverage and the Scottish football coverage. But I do think that they do cover hockey well. Netball, but netball's on Sky. I haven't seen any netball on Premier Sports. I mean, netball is a prime example. It is covered brilliantly on Sky, but it's on Sky. What's that? Tanya Reid, BBC Sports Scotland didn't want to cover the Dundee game, and that's big news, really, considering who they are and what they did getting to the playoff weekend. Yeah, I agree. Ellipsis, I think advertising is potentially an issue. I know it isn't cheap, but if you look for UK hockey, then you won't find it. Yeah, I think there's a lot could be done from a marketing point of view. By the governing bodies, by the leagues themselves. I think Premier Sports actually do a very good job on their social channels of pushing games when they have them on, and also putting clips out there as well. So I think that they do a really, really good job with regards to that. I've seen a couple of things about the Panthers. I will come to the Panthers a little later, as I'm sure a lot of people will expect, and Sheffield and Manchester and other bits and pieces, playoffs and everything. So it will all get covered, but we will probably be on a while tonight. So buckle in, strap in. It's probably going to be a long one. Is all I'll say. Next question comes from Richard Bradley. He says, has 3-9 hockey, and by extension reduced roster sizes, been a success for the Elite League? With Guildford and Dundee making finals weekend, does this show that the idea has leveled the playing field, or does the yawning gap between third and fourth in the league suggest that's not the case? I'm not in favour of it returning next year due to the restriction of opportunities for young Brits, alongside the issues Panthers have faced regards playing short with injuries. Not just Panthers, I think you only look at Sheffield as well with the number of injuries they've had, and Dundee had a big injury crisis earlier in the season. So no, I've said many times on here, I am not in favour of the 19-man limit, because it doesn't allow you to have 4 lines, which is preposterous as far as I'm concerned. I want to see it increased to at least 20, preferably 22 for next season as a maximum bench size, because I think 19 is ridiculous. And hopefully with coming out of COVID and hopefully more people going to games, that is something that can be done. But I think at the very least it needs going to 20. I sort of see what you're saying with regards to levelling up the playing field, but I think you only have to look at the league table to see the distinct gaps that there were. So you have Belfast and Sheffield, a bit back to Cardiff, then a long way back to sort of Panthers, Guildford, Glasgow, Coventry, and then sort of Manchester and Fife down at the bottom. So I don't think it's leveled it up in that respect. I see what you're saying about making the finals weekend, but there's such a short series that I think anybody can make that. Anybody who makes that sort of quarterfinal has the possibility of making the finals weekend. And as we saw with how close all the ties were, Dundee beating Sheffield over 2 legs, whilst hilarious, I totally agree, isn't an argument for parity. No, I agree. It's a 2-game series. Let's be honest. Okay, let's pop into the comments again. Ellipsis, I think advertising. Oh, well, we've done that one, but he says, I've never seen an advert other than the fact that I follow Premier. You need to be somewhat knowledgeable fan to know that it's on. I think, yeah, fair point. That is a fair point. Jamie, he says, I'm hoping there will be coverage locally on Luck East previewing the Phantoms Lightning game this weekend, which is obviously in the National League playoffs, which are taking place in Coventry. I guess we say it'd be interesting to see what sort of coverage there is around both playoff tournaments around the country. Especially as with the Elite League, there is a representative from each home country at the Elite League playoffs. Which I think is the first time that has ever happened. I could be wrong, but I do believe that is the first time it has happened. Next question is a Panthers related one, and it comes from at AdamRP89 on Twitter. He says, what will be the long-term ramifications for the Panthers after this season's performance? Will we see more people walk away from the club, very low attendance, etc.? Will we ever get back to the glory days? To answer your last question, I don't see why not, but it's going to take a lot of change and a lot of work. But the infrastructure is there and the potential is there to return to the glory days. I do believe that, but a lot of things need to change. Long-term ramifications, I think more people will walk away. It has been a dreadful season. There's no two ways around that. Failing to qualify for the Final Four, semi-finals of the Challenge Cup, a very distant fourth place in the league. It's been poor. No faulting the effort of the players at all. We've just not had the quality, and they've not been good enough compared to other teams. It's as simple as that. There seems to be a big problem off the ice as well. And I think that's because there's a lack of experience off the ice. Again, I think they're all working hard, but I think they're all spread too thinly. So they're trying to do too many jobs. So no job is being done well across the board. And I think that's a massive problem as well. And that's something that needs to change. So there are ramifications, and I think it's going to take a while to put right. But I do firmly believe it can be put right with the right people in place to put it right. It's a massive club in a fabulous location with great potential. So it can get back to where it was 5-6 years ago. I firmly believe that. But like I say, it will take an awful lot of work. Tommy says Gary Moran is a huge loss for the club. He was a big loss. I've said many times, me and Gary didn't exactly see eye to eye, but you have to respect what he did for the club. But the thing is, I think he was over so many things and controlled so many things, and maybe didn't delegate jobs out, that with him suddenly not being there, it's caused a massive problem, and I think that has caused an issue as well. His incredibly untimely death has left a very big problem. What's GMB Panther saying? Season ticket holder for 40 years, gutted I'll be walking away. I don't think you'll be the only one. And he says, I'm blocked from Panthers Twitter due to disagreeing with BLM logo on Panthers shirts. Crazy. Okay. I think a few people have been blocked on the Twitter, but I don't really comment on that because you don't really see what goes off behind the scenes. To be fair, so I think anybody that's abusive deserves to be blocked. But if you're not abusive, then yes, I can understand why you would ask questions. Adam's question from before leads into another question by another Adam Reddish. He says, do you think the Panthers will ever be a force in British hockey again whilst we have an owner trying to bankroll to arena clubs? So, well, we have been the force while Neil Black has been owning Glasgow and Panthers. When we won the league, he was owning Glasgow, or Brayhead as they were then, and Panthers. So, yes, I think we can be a force, But I do think it would be better if Neil Black chose one of the clubs to concentrate on and then maybe sold the other. And I know I've said this a few times. I think with with the way that the cash squeeze is now, everything's rising in prices. I'm sure running a hockey club isn't cheap, and it's certainly not becoming any cheaper, as ice rinks are not cheap to run, and I'm sure that those rental costs are being passed on to the clubs when they're playing. So I think he should choose one, and I think if he was to choose one of them, speculating purely, I think he would choose the Clan simply because of the arena contract that they have. I think there's more potential for profit at the Clan than there probably is at the Panthers at the moment. Callum McKeechan, who says, as a Clan fan, I hate the idea that Black needs to decide between Clan and Panthers. I think both can be successful together, and the main problem is who will be the next owner of either team. Yeah, probably could. Well, I'll come on to that a little later with regards Nottingham, but and like I say, the Panthers have been successful while he's been owning both, and with the greatest respect to Clan, they've not been as successful. They've not had any real success over the years. They've been close, don't get me wrong, but they've not won a main trophy so far. But I do think the potential is there as well. But is it coming to a point now where maybe one owner of both teams is perhaps getting a little too much, especially with the squeeze on costs at the moment? Is all I'm saying. But I sort of accept your point as well that, who does become the next owner? Is it attractive for someone to take either club on? I suppose that's the other question that you've got to ask. Andy Tring asks, after the season that Panthers have had, supporters are once again shouting for Neil Black to sell and leave. But if he does put the club up for sale, who do you, your audience, so over to you guys as well watching this, think would buy the team, and what would it cost? What it would cost is what it's worth to somebody, I think. Evening, Andy. I'm just asking your question there. All right. So it would cost whatever it's worth to someone. I've heard ridiculous figures being bandied about. I think Ellipsis will buy them for a $5 and a Freddo, sold to the fan in Coventry. I hope you're going to put some money in. No, in all seriousness, I think I've heard a figure of 3 million banded around a few times, but it only becomes a question if Neil Black is willing to sell. If he's not willing to sell, then it becomes a moot point and it becomes a moot question. So it only has a value if he's willing to put the club up for sale. Then who's willing to come in? I would think with the location that Panthers have, the potential, the fan base that's still there, 4,000 plus, regardless of the problems, there's still more than 4,000 people coming in each week. I think it will be attractive to quite a few hockey people. As to who knows? As to who has the money, again, who knows? But I think if Panthers did go up for sale, it would be quite an attractive proposition for someone to invest in. Because let's face it, there's a massive potential to make money. I would think Neil Black is still making money. He's a businessman at the end of the day. So, that does make it very, very attractive. Andrew Williamson, what assets do Nottingham have apart from the name? That's a very good question. A very good question. One I don't know the full answer to. Obviously, they rent the arena. But apart from that, maybe they have some property. I'm not sure. So that would obviously have to be factored in if that's the case. I'm not sure if they own the office in town near the arena or whether that's rented. So these are, but they are questions. They are things that I just don't know, unfortunately. But yes, that would be a big say in what a price would be. is what assets do they have. Also, the other thing you have to look at is the potential. If you've got 4,000 people coming in each week, you in an arena that holds 7,200, I think, you look at that potential of filling it each week and what that would bring in. So I think there's a lot of potential there. But as for assets, good question. I don't particularly know. Andy Tring, would a fan buyout be a possibility? Need a lot of fans with deep pockets, of which I am not one. I think a fan buyout is probably a bit beyond the level that the fan base is at, unless there's some very, very rich fans that we don't know about. But yeah. Anyone for a big shirt raffle? Yeah, Tommy, that could do the trick. That could very much do the trick. Next question comes from Lewis Batson, who is a Steelers fan, but it's a Panthers question. He says, with the Panthers coaching position available, would you like to see Omar Pasha behind the bench or a new face to the league? I think that Omar Pasha, would he leave Dundee at the minute? Probably not. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Omar Pasha behind the bench. I think he's done a phenomenal job with a smaller budget club. But would he want the pressure of coming here? I think he'd be far better staying at Dundee, but I would love him to take the job at Panthers. A new face to the league, I'm not so sure. We tried it with Rich Chernomaz, and it didn't work. And I think the thing you find is the most successful coaches are ones that know the league already. Look at Adam Keefe, look at what Paul Thompson did, look at Corey Nielsen and the success he had. They all knew the league. And I think it needs to be somebody who knows the league and knows of the league. That's not to say bringing someone in. And I'm glad you've come up, Tanya, because Malcolm Cameron is a good example. He's had a year now with the Clan. I expect Clan to do a lot better next season now that Malcolm Cameron has had a year coaching the Clan. So I think they will. I think they will be a lot better next season. Tanya says, Clan having the arena has huge investment purposes now, more now than ever before, considering that we potentially could have lost our club altogether. Yeah, I totally agree. I think massive potential at the Clan with having massive potential at the Clan with having the arena deal. Pasha lectures at the university in Dundee too, I believe. I have seen that, but I'm not. I don't know. I mean, I have no reason to believe that that's not the case. But if he does lecture at the university, that's another pull keeping him there, isn't it? Antoine Marie-Jean, evening, Ant. Who's going to want to come here at the moment, though? Very good question. Very good question. I can't imagine it's the most attractive looking head coaching position in all of hockey at the moment, to be honest. Similar question regarding the Manchester coaching position too, coming from Steve Oldham. I've got that coming up a bit later, Steve, so do stay tuned. Ellipsis, I hope Malky, I think you mean Malcolm Cameron, focuses on planning his interview answers for next season. They're always a highlight, aren't they? Indeed. We do love a Malcolm Cameron interview. There's usually some belting answer or belting quote in there. But great character, and the league needs more of them. You can't beat a character like that. Next question comes from Aidan Millen, my good friend who is the Manchester announcer. And it's also an Omar Pasha question. If you're Omar Pasha and you're offered the Panthers job, do you take it considering the job security in Dundee versus the lack thereof in Nottingham? I think I've just answered that in the last question. Sorry, Aidan, but yeah, great question. And I think if you're Omar Pasha, you would have to seriously think about it. And let's face it, Omar Pasha stock in Dundee has probably just gone through the roof considering what's happened this past weekend. So I think at the minute it will probably be very difficult to prize him away from Dundee, to be perfectly honest. Like I say, I'd love to see him here, but I think what he's done with Dundee. Would you want to stop that? Would you want to risk not getting more success there? I don't think he would. I don't think he would. Next question comes from Paul Price. He says, do you wait on signing players until a new coach arrives, or do you continue to secure any players you feel you want? I think it's a very open question, and there's a staggered answer on this. I did wonder why you still read it. Yeah, I realised as I read it that I'd actually answered it as I read it, but you took the time to send the question in, so it has to be read out. Sorry, going back to Paul's question, do you wait on signing players until a new coach arrives, or do you continue to secure any players you feel you want? I think if you are a club that hasn't got a coach, then I think it's important to try and get the British players secure as quickly as possible. So I think it's acceptable to sign British players without maybe a coach in place. With regards imports, though, I think that has to be the coach, stroke general manager, stroke director of hockey, or whoever makes the recruiting decisions. That has to be their decision. So if you're talking about Panthers, Paul, which I think you might, because I know you've sent questions in before, and I'm pretty sure they were Panthers related. If you are talking about Panthers, then I think the sooner we get a coach confirmed is the better for the club, to be honest, because then I think we can start moving. Tanya Reid, Pasha does huge things behind the scenes. He loves the business side. He does everything there, being director of hockey, giving all that for a team Doucette gives him. I don't think Guy Doucette will be here in the very near future. So, but that's all hypothetical anyway. I mean, that depends on A, Omar Pasha wanted to come here, B, Omar Pasha wanted to leave Dundee, and C, Nottingham Panthers making an offer to Omar Pasha. All right, HI, or is it high? Please let me know. I know you've been on before. Please tell me whether it's HI or high on the comments. Would you take Corey back for the Panthers? No, for the simple reason. The simple reason is what is left for Corey Nielsen to prove at the Nottingham Panthers. He's done everything. He's won the league. He's won the playoffs. He's won the Challenge Cup. He's taken Panthers to be the only British team to win a European title. He's the only coach to take a British team to the CHL knockout stages. If Corey comes back to Nottingham, where's the hunger for him? Where's the hunger for him? What is the for him to achieve? Because he's already achieved everything. So, HI initials, thank you very much. So, in that regard, HI, I would say no. Don't get me wrong, great coach, but I think Corey's career path is going down a different road now with him going to all these clubs in Europe. And good luck to him. He deserves his opportunity. But I do think that him coming back would be a mistake. We've seen it before where coaches come back after a while. The best example I can give is Mike Blaisdell when he came back to Nottingham in 2004-05, and it was a disaster. So, in that regard, I'd be very wary about taking someone back who we maybe had before. Tommy CM, he says, Paul Adey coached a team recruited by Todd Kelman when Belfast won the league in 2014. Does rely on a knowledgeable GM, director of hockey, though. I think Steve Thornton still recruits the team in Belfast and Keith coaches. I'm sure Keith has an input, But I'm pretty sure I read that that's Steve Thornton is actually the recruiter and Adam Keefe is the coach. So, but I mean, that's something that's been going on for the past few seasons. So why change a winning formula? It's clearly working for them. Adam RP89 says, I believe Guy will take GM job, but they'll make a point that he's only doing day-to-day rather than being involved in the hockey itself. I genuinely don't think Guy Doucette will be with the club for much longer. Is my take on that. I could be wrong, but if you was Guy Doucette, would you want to stick around? Let's be honest. I mean, not. Why would you? Why would you? Because I think he's been pretty much blamed for everything. Why would you want to stay in that regard? So I don't think Guy Doucette will be around next season. I've been wrong many times before. I could be again, but I've got to be honest. I can't see it at this time. Next question. What time are we on? Oh, we're okay for a moment. Is the Elite League selling itself short by not expanding the playoffs? The games at the weekend were some of the best of the season. Why wouldn't we want more? That comes from Tom Merriman, who's a Steelers fan. Absolutely great question. Yes, why wouldn't we want more? I think most of us on here, most hockey fans, in certainly Elite League hockey fans, want a better, longer playoff series. I think, is there anyone here who doesn't, who likes it the way it is? I'd like a longer playoff series. I'm sure most other people would as well. In that regard, yes. The problem is arena ice time availability, and I think that's where the problem is. But I don't see a reason why, as a sort of compromise, that the quarterfinals leading into the playoff weekend could become a best of 3 series. So, for example, you have 3 games. If you win the first 2, you're through. If it's 1 each, you have a decider. It's only fitting in 1 extra game, so I don't see how that could be too much of an issue. And the top seed again get the 3rd game at home if it needs to be used. And then you have the finals weekend. But I do think a series will work better, and then we wouldn't get the situation. And this is no fault of Belfast or Coventry; it's the rules. We won't get a situation where a playoff quarterfinal is being decided on penalty shots, because it's being decided on the actual games. So that is my view on it. I think that's a great question from Tom, and it's something that I would like to see. Ellipses. I worry that it reduces the chance of an upset. Much easier to pop up and take it off a big team over 2 legs than a 3 to 5 game series. It increases the volatility. I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, those higher seeded teams have fought all the way through the season to finish in a higher position, to be a higher seed. Is that not fair? And that, let's face it, that's how every other league in the world does it. We are pretty unique in the way we do it, apart from probably the NCAA, because they have the Frozen Four. But as regards a professional league, it is pretty unique in this country. You don't generally see that in other countries around the world. Then there's also the team with 1 week's notice, the poor team that ends up with Belfast away multiple times. That is a fair point as well. But yeah. HI says best of 3, 5, or 7 for quarters, but I am a massive fan of the playoff weekend, as when it's sold out, not this year, creates an amazing atmosphere and an enjoyable for everyone. I agree. I love the playoff weekend. But Jamie Bartholomew, how many tickets have been sold for the Elite League playoff weekend currently? Funny you should ask that. I had a look this morning. On Saturday, there were 3,128 tickets available. 3,175 tickets available. That includes 2, which currently aren't on sale. So, on the basis that there's 6,500 seats in the bowl of the arena, that means that for 172 tickets have been sold. For Sunday, 3,325 tickets. That ain't great, but I'll come on later. Dundee would start to beat Sheffield, would still have beat Sheffield over best of 3 this weekend, having won both games. That's absolutely true. But their last goal was an empty netter to win that game, don't forget, on Sunday. But I do take your point. Next question, Alex Morton. What will the league's reaction be to a potentially half-full arena, potentially made worse by the lack of Sheffield and Nottingham being there? Not potentially made worse, it is being made worse by the fact that Nottingham and Sheffield aren't there. Although fair play to the Dundee fans who have sold their block and I think are buying tickets in the next block now, which was a Braehead block. So fair play to the Dundee fans, nice one. But I think they will have the only sold-out block in the arena. It's not looking good, and it's sad. And I tweeted this the other day. The fact that this could cause a massive problem for the league because they rely a lot on the money that comes in from playoff weekend to run the league, for referees and things like that. If the arena's only half full, that income's going to be well down. Bear in mind the fact that this is the first playoff weekend since 2019. So I am worried. It does worry me in that regard, but the league only have themselves to blame for the ridiculous price that they set and also for not having concessions, which I think is borderline criminal. How can you market yourself as a family sport and then not offer a family ticket or a child's ticket for your biggest weekend of the year? Absolute disgrace. So yes, the league only have themselves to blame for the situation that they find themselves in. What worries me is what damage could it do? And I think it could do a lot of damage. And that does genuinely worry me. Bob Starr, who I think is a Steel Dogs fan, he says, who's going to win the playoffs, Sheffield or Nottingham? Clearly not. Seriously, though, do you think we could have a surprise winner like the Flames or a Belfast taking it all? I think Belfast go into the weekend as the big favourites, without a doubt. But I do think that the winner will come from that Belfast-Dundee semi-final. Dundee are on a roll. Dundee, also the only team in the Final Four who won both their quarter-final games. So they do have the momentum. They prove they can win 2 games in a row and also beat Sheffield. So they cannot be taken lightly. So I would say that if Dundee win, I fancy them to take the playoff title overall. But it's very difficult to see past Belfast at the minute. And we know how driven they are to win a Grand Slam. So I think it will be Belfast or Dundee. I can't see the winner coming from Cardiff, Guildford, if I'm honest. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a Guildford Dundee final. Let's put it that way. But we shall see. All will be revealed at the weekend, I guess. Let's head to the comments. There's going to be some very clever camera angles on Premiere over the weekend to avoid the empty seats. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I have heard that they may put the drapes down. So there are drapes that go around, but we shall see if that happens. Glenn M, evening Glenn, he says they are still getting 350k from ticket sales due to no concession prices, not as good as the 600k they could have had, a long way off, plus the secondary spend as well, don't forget. 50-50 tickets, shirt raffle tickets, etc., money spent around the arena, that's going to be well down because you've got half the number of fans that are usually there. What's going to happen to the businesses around the arena? The pubs I do believe the pubs will be quite full because I think the Nottingham Legend and the Bunkers Hill have both got Premier Sports subscriptions, so they will be showing the games throughout. And I believe they're going to be very, very busy from what I've heard. I mean, let's face it, people will still go down. I'm still going down on Sunday night after I've finished at the cricket. We're going to have a party, but it's not going to be the same with actually not going to the games. Fingers crossed for Sheffield to win the playoffs this weekend. Well, you're off to Coventry then, I assume. The Scots are coming. We love a drink. Yeah, I didn't think the Scots drank much, Tanya. Let's have a look at some of the other comments before I get lynched. Thoughts on who's going to win the National League playoffs? Telford, I think, go in as favourites, but I do think Steel Dogs could come in and take that. They've got some good players, the likes of Jason Hewitt, Alex Graham. I think Steel Dogs would be a good bet for that, but I think Telford go in as favourites, to be honest. HI says, as a Panthers fan who stupidly bought a playoff ticket, I'm hoping the atmosphere will be as good this weekend, but don't have high hopes as ticket sales look appalling. Yeah, they do not. Adam RP89, will you be looking into that Nottingham commentary job that opened up? I'm not going to go chasing it. I would love it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to go chasing it for the simple reason is I come on here every week and tell the owner that he needs to sell the club. So put yourself in his shoes or put yourself in the club's shoes. Would you want someone like that commentating on your games who's been openly saying things about the club? But I never say never. But it's not something I will go chasing after. But I'd love to do it. Of course, I'd love to do it. I'm a Panthers fan. To commentate on them would be great. But I think circumstances may mean that won't happen. But we'll see. Never say never. Never say never. Let's have a look at the other comments. Tommy says all the teams that are there are sat on the right-hand side of the ice behind the net will look a little quiet when the camera pans left. Anthony Russell thinks Steel Dogs are a good shout. Glenn M. No, I'm at the NIC Bunkers Legend plus I have 4 free tickets for Saltbox, the EIHL party on Saturday night. Lucky you. Aren't you the lucky one? Adam, have Manchester invited you back? Yes, it's all got to be discussed. But yeah, I am hoping to go back to Manchester to commentate next season. Loved it there this season. Absolutely loved it every single minute. So we will see. Who's coming in for Cardiff? Lordo back, do you think? I think it's a possibility. He's not at the Swamp Rabbits anymore. So I think on that regard, yeah, I think Andrew Lord could be a possibility back at Cardiff, but who knows? Right, 47 minutes. And I've still got quite a few things to get through. Next question is a great question. Comes from Greg Hewish, who is a Cardiff fan. He says, do you think questions need to be asked about Aaron Fox's position and or recruitment at Sheffield? In his first season, he was chased down in the league by Cardiff, but did win the Challenge Cup. Just before the league shut down, lost out in the final of the Elite Series, not a full competition, but nevertheless. And now this year, they've lost badly in the semi-final and bottled the league in the league after Christmas. Other coaches have been sacked for less in Sheffield. Cardiff acted pretty quickly this year. Yeah, that's a great question. Aaron Fox, I've interviewed him a couple of times when Sheffield have been in Manchester and I've been commentating. Really, really impressed with him. He didn't give the usual coach answers that you sometimes get. He gave really good answers, spoke very confidently, maintained eye contact all the way throughout. Very impressive man, Aaron Fox. But we talk often on here about Panthers' monumental failure this season. is Sheffield just as much of a monumental failure, considering they got knocked out of the Challenge Cup in the semi-final stage? They finished second in the league. Yes, they pushed Belfast, but in the end, it was a comfortable Belfast victory in the league. And they failed to make the playoff finals weekend, getting beaten by the 7th seed. I have no doubt that they have the biggest player budget in the Elite League, considering the number of players they bought in to replace injuries. I don't think they had a game or very few games where they had less than a 19-man maximum roster. So on that regard, I think you've got to look at Sheffield's season overall as a big disappointment. On their regard. I mean, Glenn, you're on. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but questions asked about Aaron Fox's position, I think they do. I mean, I know that he's been given a 3-year contract, but yeah, you would expect them to have won something. Bums on sheets, Sheffield put Nottingham to shame. Yes, they do, and that, I'll come to that. Actually, that's a good point. What Sheffield do brilliantly is marketing. 6,000 plus every week in that arena. If you're new coming into ice hockey and you had no idea and you looked at the way that Sheffield present themselves, Sheffield, you would think that Sheffield won everything because they're so impressive when they come across. You look at them and they're the big, look at us, aren't we great? Blah, 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 blah. But, the reality is very different to the perception, but the perception is brilliant because it keeps people coming in. And you can't argue with the numbers that they are getting through the door. But the reality is they've won one trophy, the Challenge Cup in 2019-20, in 5 seasons. That's their only trophy in the last 5 seasons. And for a club that big and the club, the way they presented themselves, that's probably not acceptable. You look at when Gerard Adams was in charge. Gerard Adams was sacked after he won the league and Paul Thompson put in. After he won the league for them, he was sacked. So on that basis, surely you've got to think that Aaron Fox is under threat, but it doesn't seem that way. There seems to be a bit of a sort of shift in priorities in Sheffield. And the thing with that is they remind me very much of Panthers when Corey Nielsen was in charge. They play an entertaining brand of hockey. They get lots and lots of people through the door, but they're not winning much. And and I think because of the numbers that they're getting through the door, that's actually become acceptable to the management of the Steelers. And if that's the way they want to go, fair enough. But there's a lot of disappointed fans in the Steelers fan base, and I can sort of understand why, especially when you look at that roster that they had. Too many older players. I think that's a fair point, Glenn. And the injury placement didn't have the same impact. Adam sacking was purely to give Tomo the job. Yeah, that's probably the case. We'll probably never know the exact truth, but that's probably the case. But yeah, I think there's a lot of questions going to be asked at Sheffield. And I noticed they were straight in. There's going to be a 6 a.m. announcement tomorrow morning. So that's obviously a new signing. And I'm sure it'll be a blockbuster to sort of try and bring the fans a bit more on side again. But yeah, I can understand why there's a lot of anger in the Sheffield fan base at the minute. And Andy Tring says, how do you think Sheffield will react in the off-season as they have the same results as Panthers, but as we all think, spent a few pounds more on their team? I don't think there's any doubt that they had a bigger player budget than Panthers. I mean, you've only got to look at the respective teams. The other thing with Aaron Fox is I think he can very easily get out coached. You look at the game that Panthers won 3-0 at the NIC. He was out coached. Panthers went in with a game plan and stuck to it rigidly and came away with a 3-0 victory. And this is the other thing I've noticed with Sheffield teams. I've watched them play at the NIC against Nottingham. I've watched them play against Manchester. They don't have really any sort of plan or systems that they work to. But the thing is, they've got the quality of player that a lot of the time that doesn't matter. But I think when they come up against a team that has a game plan, has a good coaching philosophy, they struggle. I think look at their games against Belfast in the latter part of the season. They struggled because Adam Keefe had his team like playing the way he wanted them to his systems. Sheffield don't look like they have any sort of system play. And that's going to be difficult. Yes, they play a great brand of entertaining, attacking hockey. It's very much run and gun. But sometimes you need to have a plan, and I don't think that they have it at times. He does need a bit of a plan B. Yeah, although his line combinations seem random at times. Yeah, there was a lot of mixing and matching there. And I think that's probably what I'd say about Aaron Fox is he doesn't seem to have a sort of coaching plan that other coaches in the Elite League do. And I think if you could come against Sheffield with a plan, then the chances are you will probably beat them. I have no doubt that Omar Pasha had a game plan for both games this season, this weekend, and stuck to them, and that's why they won both games. Do you think the lack of using young Brits is his downfall? No, because you look at the Brit pack at Sheffield. You've got the likes of Davy Phillips, Robert Dow, Jonathan Phillips. Sam Jones has been getting lots of ice time. I think Brandon Whistle has been a real revelation this season for the Steelers. So no, I don't think it's the lack of young Brit. I think the lack of young Brits overall in the league because of the restrictions. But that's another debate. But I don't think it's the lack of Brits within the Steelers team that has been his downfall, not at all. So I think there's a lot of thinking to be done in Sheffield. Staying with Steelers, Scott at Rimwrong Phil. He says thoughts on the exchange between the official Sheffield mouthpiece, and I assume he means David Sims, and some of the more critical fans. A sub question for this: seeing a lot of talk around true fans. What constitutes a true fan? Is it one who blindly follows, or one able to criticise, or neither, or a mix of both? I saw an exchange between Dave Sims and Alan Clarenbold, who is Ginger Manal on Twitter. It wasn't pretty. And the thing is, if you're a representative of a club, you shouldn't talk to your fans like that. What Alan said was, all he said was Fox has to deliver next season, and Simmsey went after him for it. Well, he's a paying. Alan is a paying fan who has an opinion. It's not an unreasonable opinion. Why are you going after him like that? That's wrong. Sims has a history. He does. You're not wrong. And a lot of the replies when I was sort of looking at the exchange seem to refer to that he does this quite a lot. I can't say that I've seen it myself, but it's having looked at the way he went after Alan. It wasn't good. Didn't like that at all. Now, Simmsey yesterday went after someone who put something pretty horrible on Facebook, and that's fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that. For someone who puts horrible abuse out, I get that entirely. But what Alan asked was just a reasonable comment, and he was jumped on for it, and I didn't. It wasn't a good look from a club official. Let's put it that way. To answer the second sort of part of the question from Scott, and it's an interesting one. I keep seeing this true fans thing being put around. And I don't like it. You support the club the way you want to support it. I got criticised by someone once because I don't clap along and sing at games. Well, that I don't want to. That's not the way I want to be at matches. I want to watch the game. if you want to clap and jump and cheer, you go for it. That's fair enough. I don't do that as much. I have to. I have to be seeing something really good to sort of get off my seat and clap. But that's just me. That's the way I watch the game. So, in that regard, yeah, you support the team how you want to support them, but then don't criticize anyone else for the way they support the team. Does it annoy me when I see people saying you're not a fan because you moan? Yes, it does annoy me. I criticize the Panthers a lot. I've criticized the Panthers a lot this season, but I criticize the Panthers a lot because I care and I want them to be better. I want them to be better on the ice. I want to be them better on the ice. I want that club to be the best in every area that they can be. And if I see them not being the best in every area they can be, and I spot what's wrong, and I can give a suggestion that what might put it right, I will criticize it. I will constructively criticize, I hope. And I hope people will agree with that. Abuse, absolutely agree. You don't give abuse, but there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. But some people seem to take offence at that when you point out that it's not very good, that you were as a distant fourth in the league. So, but you support the team how you want to support the team. Antoine, he says, there are fans who criticise purely for the sake of criticising. Then there are those who criticise because they care and want to see the club do better. Yes, there are. And there are those who want to criticise for the sake of criticising. I'm not denying that. Right, we're over an hour. I probably need to crack on. Paul Carruthers, evening Scooby. Good to see you on here. Criticism just because you don't like the player or coach is a waste of an opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong if you don't like. If you say why you don't like them and the reasons why, I think criticism that then leads into abuse is absolutely wrong. You also say criticism about players is okay as long as it's constructive. I would agree, and they give a reason why a player is not very good. Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree with that. Constructive encouragement. Yeah. What does make I'll not read that out, but what does make me boil is when fans say, "Could you do better?" Yeah, I must admit that is it's like, well, no, but I'm not a professional hockey player. There you go. Let's see what's Manchester question. I'll finish on this one. I'm sorry if I'm not. There's three that I've missed out, and I know Andrew Williamson. I know you're on. I'm sorry, but we've been going over an hour, and I don't want to outstay my welcome. But Bob Starr, he says, do we think someone from the league takes the coaching job at Manchester? Manchester is a unique place in that I'm pretty sure that the other 9 teams hate going to play there. And that is a massive advantage for the Manchester Storm. I think Finner going to be the GM is the right decision. I think he will be a fantastic general manager of that club. And I think him concentrating on that side and having a coach where we can work with him, I think that is that is going to be a very, very good move for Manchester. I strongly, strongly believe. Would a player coach at Manchester work? I'm not so sure. I think a bench coach is always going to be better than a player coach. But I suppose it depends what road they decide to take. I think it should be someone who knows the league, though, simply because of that rink that they play in. Massive advantage for them. All the other clubs hate going there. You make it a fortress. It's exactly the same as what the Big Blue Tent was. The Cardiff made that a fortress. Manchester had a very good home record last season. Their away record was terrible, but at home they had a pretty decent record. So they make the best of what of what is at that rink. And, you know, and in that regard, I think they will probably get, a coach who knows the league. However, because of the dimension of the league being of the rink being 56 by 26, I think it's the same or similar to North American rinks. So you probably could get a new North American coach over. So we'll have to see what happens on that. But I would expect it will be someone who knows the league who goes into Manchester. Anthony Russell, Manchester National isn't going away. It's what I have for tomorrow. Not happening. They've been selling season tickets for next season in the Elite League for a couple of weeks now. So I'm pretty certain that isn't happening. Antoine, Forest confirmed in the playoff spot. Jono, just in case you weren't aware. Marvellous. That's good news. Still a chance of automatic promotion with Bournemouth losing tonight as well. 2 points behind and Bournemouth to play next week. It's in our hands. Where have I heard that before? Right. Hour and 5 minutes. I think it's time. It's time to pack up. Did it finish 3-3? Oh. And Swansea were 2-0 up in that. Oh, well, still got to play Bournemouth next Tuesday. Big game. Big game. Anyway, that's football. This is hockey. And thank you so much for sticking around for so long, an hour and 5 minutes. I knew it'd be a big one tonight. I'm really sorry to the three people. So Martin Andrews, Andrew Williamson, and Ian Pidge and his Pidge. If I carried on, we'd be here all night, and that's not fair on everybody listening. And I need to go to bed at some point. What's that, Jamie? Manchester to do a link up with Blackburn and Blackburn to join the National League would be my thoughts. Yeah, that is an interesting one. That is an interesting one. There is already a link between Manchester and Blackburn, and Finner is the director of hockey at Blackburn as well. Ooh. We shall see with that one. We shall see with that one. But yeah, that's something that I've not really thought about. But that I think you make a great point there, Jamie. Cheers, John. I get a job at Panthers HQ. Don't hold your breath. Is all I will say to that. Right then, thank you so much for joining me. Massively appreciated for staying around this long. Don't forget you can listen to this again on the podcast. That'll be available in probably 15-20 minutes or so. But for now, if this is the last one, thank you so much for listening and watching over the season. I may do another one a little later, maybe next week, maybe in a couple of weeks with regards to the World Championships. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sending in questions. As I always say, without you, there's no show and there's no discussion. So thank you so much for coming along in your numbers tonight. It's been great. Thank you so much. And I will speak to you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. And if you're going to whatever playoff weekend this weekend, have a great time. And if you see me on Sunday night, do come and have a chat. I will probably be around the bunkers at some point, but and it'd be great to talk to you. But until then, thank you very much and good night.